What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the 16x9 podcast, episode 9. And today I am joined by a very cool guest, Rob. How you doing, man?
Right, and you?
Cool. Thank you so much for coming through to my podcast.
My pleasure.
You are my fifth or fourth guest. I can't even keep up.
Cool.
But this is the 9th episode. And today's episode is... our topic is visual effects, special effects, and 2D and 3D animation. So I called you here because I obviously used to run a meetup, still do, and obviously you gave a talk about what 3D animation is and visual effects, how it works, and I'm always very keen to share that with people, you know, especially I'm very passionate about visual effects. It's really crazy that I even went for like a 3D course, and I want people to learn that it is possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very big thing because when I think about myself 5 years ago or 6 years ago, like a little like boy in like East Rand, I didn't know what the fuck visual effects was. I didn't even know about film school or where to go study.
But the reason it resonated with you is because if you sit in a movie or if you sit watching something, you feel an emotion when you watch one of those things happen. I mean, do you have a memory of like the first thing you ever saw that you thought, fuck, how'd they do that?
You know, the funny thing is like I used to, I was into movies since forever. Like since I was 8 years old, my mother used to take me to go watch these documentary guys shooting at mines. I don't know how I got into it, but I remember in like kindergarten, you know, when they ask you what you want to be when you grow up.
Right.
I was like, oh, I want to be a cowboy, and like the whole crowd like laughed.
Yeah.
But only later on I realized there was a lot of cowboy movies at that point.
Sure.
Because I was like, how did I even know what a cowboy is?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of westerns, and then I was like, oh shit. Then when I was like almost 16, I wanted to be an actor. Then it all just made sense.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to do film forever.
Yeah.
And then, you know, luckily I got introduced to like a film school, went there for 2 years before dropping out, and then I like started working in TV on music videos and different ads and stuff like that. Then, you know, the rest is history. But it's crazy how like I just felt like, I mean, I think I was lucky because I had a lot of mentors.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people through Facebook, like really big directors. I was like, yo, I want to make movies. I just dropped out. What should I do?
See, that's the difference.
Which camera should I buy? And they would just like guide me.
That's the difference from when I was starting off and you starting off, is that there was no internet around. And and whenever that sort of thing happened, there was such a protection around everybody's sort of what they did for a living that you were shunned away quickly. Like, oh shit, there's somebody showing interest. Let's get them out of here quickly because you know you could be like a future.
That's so shitty though. That's like,
totally. But eventually, when I met some people that I considered, you know, they were way up there. They just do high budget movies and stuff like that. And then I said to the guy, like, how do you make a mold of this and do that? He just told me all the information I wanted. I said, dude, you're telling me everything here. You know, that's so rare.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can make the donkey go to the water, but I can't make a donkey drink.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Wow, that's very good. Like for your journey, because like I also like if I didn't have those mentors telling me like go to this website called nofilmschool.com and learn as much shit as possible. And learn about, this is like at the beginning of DSLR. It's like the whole DSLR revolution was starting. And I didn't even know. I was like, what camera should I buy? What do I do? I don't know. I just want to make movies. Where do I start? And like these two guys just like guided me, and they would always just give me advice on Facebook. And it's I'm lucky because I met them through film school. So basically, when you're in first year, you help out third years with their films, like you assist. So I built relationships like that, and the people that I like helped out, then I could connect with them. I'd be like, hey, what are you shooting? Can I come through? And then I got into it. How did you get into the whole? How did you start?
I think it chose me. At like the age of 4, my parents, my brother and my dad, as a joke, took me to watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was I can't even. It was not the original one. It was the remake at that time. So it must have been 1980 something, like way early. And it blew my mind away. It was completely because I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't know I should hide my eyes or anything like that. But so the memories are still so vivid in my head.
Yeah.
Where this stuff sort of touches somebody's skin, and then it samples their DNA, and then later on these like plants pop out, and all these babies are in the plant, so it's actually clones of the person that they sampled. And but what was terrifying is like the plant pops open like a pod, and they got all these babies like sort of still inside there, and they're all crying. Wow! Like that. And you just, I'm like, is this, you know, the overload of information in their head, and just like, is this right? So that stayed with me, and then all the way through to what was the other one? Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Poltergeist was a big mover for me, because I said to my brother, I was irritated now because he'd taken me to 3 or 4 horror movies, and I was like, no, there's like no talent to that. It's just like horror, you know, scary stuff. He's like, no. He says, remember the tree in Poltergeist, which pulls the kid out and tries to eat the kid? And I said, yes. He says, there are like 15 people probably trying to make that thing real. At that moment, boom, the penny drops. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was sort of like me realizing the emotion that I felt, which was so out of body place. I thought, I can create that. I can make people feel like that too. And then, so that made, so anything that came across my hands that was like slightly horror or blood or this or that, it was always seen as in a craft.
Yeah.
And whereas other people on the exterior, especially at that time, when I grew up, people were so close-minded. They're very religious and very sort of like, oh my God, he's going to become a serial killer.
What is he doing? Making fake blood.
Making fake blood, and he's like, look, he's putting like little cuts and wounds on. I mean, I had it where I was doing, I figured out these, I suppose this is actually where it also started, is that my mother used to make porcelain dolls. So in order to advance her, you could say, a selection to other people to become a good competition, she had to learn how to make molds of other dolls and change them just enough that there's no copyright infringement. So I actually helped her with that.
Okay.
So when I figured out the positive and the negative and so on, then I figured out, wait a second, if I sculpt a spine into here, and then I sculpt something else into here, and make it look like muscles, and I put a t-shirt in there, and I put rubber in there, maybe I'll have my, like exposed spine. And it worked. So I did that sort of thing. And then, you have exposed spine, I put plaster in there, and then I put the plaster back in once it was completely dry, and then I poured some of the latex stuff inside there. So in the end, I had this like very horrific open spine in the back, to the point of where cars were stopping, because we used to go to the shops, my friends and I. So it was like, and I suppose at that time it was sort of new. We even had a problem with the doctor sort of stopping off in a shop, and the doctor looking at my hand, because my hand was like all gouged open and with all sorts of wounds, and the doctor was like, if I was you, I think I'd go see about that, and we had to calmly explain to him, like, don't worry, no, it's just fake. So,
wow, damn.
So that was, but because those moments were so prolific, as in like, it's what we did sold, what I did was sold at that point. And the reaction I got was so good, then it obviously solidified the next step.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like, it's I mean, I still say it's like, I can imagine it was also still far-fetched back in the day, because it wasn't, like something that was done here a lot, in SA. You grew up in SA, right? Yeah. So it's still like, to me, it's like, what the fuck? You were doing that at that age? Like, it's crazy. Also, I think maybe just to start off at the bottom, because some of the viewers at home don't even know what the fuck visual effects is.
Oh, yes.
So let's just like start from the bottom before we get into it. So what according to you, what is visual effects, or what's the difference between visual effects and special effects?
Special effects range. It's quite a large range of special effects. I mean, you can range from pyrotechnics in camera, which is explosives and squibs and all sorts of things like that. It's a special effect. It means it's an effect that is very specialized. You need to get pyro people and all sorts of things like that. You get, and then you get prosthetics, which is a special effect. That's you take an actor, you make a mold of their face, you sculpt the character onto their cast, and you cast that, and then you put it back onto the character, the actor acts it out. That's a special effect.
Like Terminator 2.
Terminator 2
is
tough. Yeah, so totally.
Arnie's got prosthetics.
Prosthetics, he's got completely rebuilt.
Yeah.
They're taking me off there. No, James Cameron had a brilliant way of working with that sort of stuff. He saw them as puppets. Everything as puppets and puppeteering, and he had a beautiful way of simplifying his vision in that way. For it, not that he ever talks about it, but I can see it. It's like if you watch Aliens and you watch the making of Aliens and how he orchestrates everything and the way he see. I read a lot of the background stuff of like how he had to talk to the producers and things like that. And just hearing how somebody talks, sometimes you can hear the way they think and the way they bargain and the way they strategize. And what's fantastic about hearing the way he did that, he always took it upon himself to go to the money guys. He always said, we're in this together. It's not me working for you. It's we in this together, because if I fail, we fail. And it's all your money gone, not mine. And at the same time, I wanted my success up there because I want to carry on doing this. So he changed. So, you know, they always say, if you can control a situation within the first minute, you've actually won. So he controlled the situations through just good reasoning and good logic. Like, I'd hate to work for him because I think he's special to work for. He'll probably get the best out of you, but whew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As a dictator.
Yes. He's broken like a couple of very big special effects people, like broken their, almost like crime sets, you know, that sort of thing. But,
snap, man.
Yeah, so I'm not, so that I'm not interested in anymore. But what was the original question?
So what is the difference between visual effects and special effects?
Okay, so those are special effects. Visual effects in the day were where you had a blue screen effect, and you know, the old movies where you always had like a blue outline and everything. Those were done with taking two projectors, projecting onto one single celluloid. After that, they had a special prism that used to split up the projection from the one and the projection to the other onto a new celluloid like that. But there were always artifacts, and there was never a clean process. You can always sort of see there's always a little shift between things sometimes like this, or there's like, but there was a visual effect. Also, the simple things like dropping ink into a tank, that's a visual effect because that'll be used for something in visually as well with the rest of the movie. Maybe it'll be. There was also getting distracted. Okay, so then, and now visual effects are, the good way to describe it is you get shot footage, and now your job is to make whatever it needs to work with that shot footage.
Yeah.
That's a visual effect as well.
Yeah,
So,
like a futuristic city. If
Yes,
a
yes.
shot of a futuristic city is like an example of a...
green screen reaction, there's a city over there. Yeah.
Yeah, example of visual effects. Okay. Oh, and also there is animatronics.
Animatronics, yes.
Which is also very interesting.
This was a special effect, animatronics, because that's in-camera...
Oh yeah, it's done in production, not post. Yes.
Yes. And the best way to think about what is the best way to approach an effect or a movie or anything is keep thinking money. You have to keep thinking money all the time, as in like how long does this take to make? How long does that take to make? Just by doing that comparison, you're already in the same league as everybody else in the States who are trying, or even in Hollywood who are making all the decisions, is because they're looking at they're looking at very large numbers, and they're trying to suss out what's the best way. And 3D has always been like, it made financial sense in many ways, because you're getting an effect that hopefully, because see, I'm going to give people credit where they don't have credit. You're giving people hopefully a good decent T-Rex from like Jurassic Park, and that sort of thing. So their money is well spent, because there was always a lack of good talent making prosthetics at one time.
Okay.
Which is now the same in 3D. There's also a lack of brilliant artists, or actually production pipelines that assist artists to actually come up with a final product. It'll make more sense just now. So animatronics. So the reason I mention this is because animatronics, if you can get something in camera, and it's like print straight away, like action, gray cut, print, and that's a done deal. There's no work on that afterwards. So there's no post. You don't have to go calculate all sorts of stuff there afterwards. You don't have to go make deals. You don't have to. And that's the best part of that. Is like. So. Yeah, and I've seen a really good mix of animatronics and prosthetics mixed with 3D now. They got things where. What was that movie called? Death Note. the new one, the American version, which wasn't bad. The guy who's his whole suit and everything.
The demon guy.
The demon guy, yeah. That's all for real.
Yeah.
And then but probably from his neck up through his face over here, it all just, dots and the usual thing like that.
Oh, CG, okay.
So CG, so that'll become a CG replacement. So that means CG don't have to match. They don't have to get the whole body right and all this right and everything right. And translating, because yes, 3D like data management is just hectic. Because if you've got like mocap of people moving and there's like 3 or 4 people in a shot, and just the load of data that is a couple of gigs. And you can imagine that has to stream onto an animator's desktop, and the animators to clean that up and so on.
Yeah.
And then over and above that, you're going to stick the skins, you're going to put the rig on, and you're going to... It becomes expensive.
Yeah.
Expensive in time and labor and stuff like that, specialization.
Yeah.
So if you can get stuff in camera right there and then...
Yeah. But what about then movies like Planet of the Apes?
Which one?
Well, like they say the recent ones where they have Andy Serkis acting as
those
like
ones.
as the Caesar. That's
Yes.
the ape's name.
Yeah.
Like it's very advanced like motion capture and like sometimes it works like because he knows how to move like an ape and he's got the facial expression and he's like he has all that emotion that you probably wouldn't get if you just created an ape from like 3D from scratch.
Yes.
But obviously it is super, super expensive.
Yes.
Not everyone can just like
do
mocap and like...
No.
You need specialized cameras.
Yes, and this is the part
specialized
I never
software.
realized. Like one of the companies I was in last, we did like a lot of motion capture, which was used actually in a brilliant way to get it, do a series, and we could capture up to like 5 or 6 people in the shot at a time, but we couldn't do face at the same time. We did try that, but the volume, I don't want to get technical, but it's not good to do both at the same time.
Yeah.
And with that, sorry, I lost train of thought again.
Motion capture. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, yes, what I never realized was it's not just the technique of the product. As in, like, here we got Raptor cameras, and we're using motion analysis, and we're using software. And all those things can be like little tick boxes that you tick. Even if you tick all those tick boxes, it makes no difference. You still have to get the structure of people in place. The people have to be thinking in a certain way that's already geared up for your end result. So you can't have advertising people that come back that have all sorts of advertising backgrounds, and then mix them with other people that have long form 2D backgrounds, and without it's just like it doesn't work. I've seen it not work. And what happens is it's getting the thinking of everybody to look in the same way. It's actually quite insane because it becomes a management. You're managing the people inside. You're managing because you're relying on human beings to figure out solutions to problems that are there. Because nothing's perfect. And if you buy all that software, it means nothing. You're still going to get people in to install, get it going, get it running, and then give you the information of like why is it running, how is it running? Because it's all actually, and none of it's like really off the shelf. Yeah. If it is, it's a lie. It's because most of it has to get tangled and wangled afterwards and so on. And every pipeline at every company is so vastly different. So this sounds complicated because it actually is. So what's happened is Weta, for instance, Weta Digital have a relationship with the Weta Workshop. So Weta Workshop, for instance, would assist with character development and making the actual three-dimensional object that you can see. They can sometimes scan it. Or they ZBrush it. Then they hand it over as an asset to the Weta Digital. Weta Digital will then they've got a very strict procedure that they follow. They don't change. And with that, but everybody working at the workstation is aimed at a certain goal. They are thinking in a certain way already. Because the whole company grew with this background of technology footstep, and the people don't. So that's why you try to keep a lot of crew around. You don't want them to fly around too much because you're trying to stabilize the amount of information that's available. Because a lot of stuff is still, it's just, what can I say? It's it
is complicated. Like you do need experts because like you know, when you watch Lord of the Rings, like there's so much man, from the little guy, what's Smeagol or whatever his name. Like to have him and then have all these monsters, dragons,
and the scale of the picture as well.
And it's like you can understand, like, I mean, when you do know, like, to make a picture like Lord of the Rings is a lot of work and like also a lot of planning.
Yeah, totally.
You know, what's also very interesting is that I've noticed they don't just like, oh, we're gonna go shoot and then we'll do everything in post. It's like the director will write the script and say, hey, okay, cool. So we're having a scene where this big guy is talking to the small guy.
Yes.
How are we gonna make, you know, what do you call the guys from the Shire?
The hobbits.
Yes, yeah, they're small, obviously, and Gandalf is like super.
Yes. How
like,
are you gonna
big.
work out?
How do you know? So it's also like they plan all that stuff and say, okay, how are we gonna do this? Okay, we'll use this camera technique or whatever, this visual effect.
Use forced perspective and a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and like this is like it's all about planning.
Yes,
and all you need to do is just learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And then try it out. Obviously, you'll struggle a little bit, but then once you've planned it and done like a storyboard, you know, and then when you get to post production and put everything together, it just makes sense. It's not just like, oh, we're just gonna see how it works.
And it's funny you mention that because the old way of doing, I'll mention this just now, the osmosis way of doing things is. I'll give you, for instance, like Conan the Barbarian, the first one that was made. It took them 5 years from when the script was written to the first bit of money that was put down for the movie. It took them 5 years to get it right. So within 5 years, even though they're all busy doing other things, and they all probably, you know, everyone's involved, they're doing like 5 or 6 of their own other projects and so on. Like that. But this one's, they're trying to push it through. But with the beauty of taking that 5 years to do that, is that it's finding the right people to work on the project, because like, let's say Arnold's going, this will be very nice for me, you know, he knows that his structure, because he's a clever guy, he's not stupid, he knows what'll sell him on screen. So it found him, as in like, this will be his platform, this will be the thing that makes him like really well known, you know. And he knew that, and then he finds out who else is acting, and he goes, oh, it's like James Earl Jones is in it, and it's like, oh dear God, that's awesome, you know. And there's a seasoned actor as well, and but they're not only that. So the script was a lot simpler in the beginning, but what happened over the past 5 years is that each person, like somebody who does dresses, somebody who does outfits, each person brings their years of experience to the project, and they're going, okay, but you know, chainmail wasn't made like that, chainmail was made like this. You didn't know that as a director, but now you do. Now you're informed. So, and meaning, these types of people, these barbarians didn't actually do this, and they were actually around at that time, and so on. And wouldn't it be nice to add and what sort of mythology was around at that time? Because they didn't apparently have any mythology in there, the deep mythology. And so over 5 years, the guys just kept on rewriting the script to make it more thicker with the feel of the world, you know, expanding in the world. Nowadays it's like, oh, we need to do this and make sure there's a world in there. Oh, dear God. So So there was so the beauty of taking your time on, but you see, what I found now with a lot of the producers, or they used to do in the States and UK, is they got 20 or 30 projects all happening side by side, you know, like all. So if they make a little bit of money here, it's a little bit of money across all of that, which means it's a lot of money. So, and they got that sort of as a business logic, as so they're not going to, so you're not always going to be, you know, ousted or stiffed out of your thing, especially if you've got a reputation and they know they can make continual money off you, then you'll be looked after, you know, that sort of thing. But there's like always 20 or 30 of these things happening at the same time like that.
Yeah.
So the agents and so that's why I'm saying you always got to think of money in your head, as in, not because you're obsessed with it, but because it defines decisions. And
I mean, filmmaking, I always contradict myself. I say you can do it.
Yes.
But it's also like, it can get expensive.
If you're allowed to, yeah.
Yes, because it's also like, I'm sure there are some movies or visual effects that you can do. You don't really need to spend a lot of money. You just need to know what the technique is. And then there are also very expensive ways to do stuff.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, and
which are just
3D,
like,
right off the bat, is expensive. It is the most expensive way to do something. So if you can, there's a problem though, because if you're doing a movie when there's a 3D creature in it, and the 3D creature is costing way cheaper than a prosthetic creature, there's something wrong. It's either going to be in the delivery, the performance of the creature, which means people aren't going to buy what they're watching, or there's something, because 3D should never be cheaper than a prosthetic or something else like that. It just shouldn't be, because if you think about it, here you are, you got 4 months in a workshop with a few people, boom, you're going to go onto set, get the thing shot, and that's where it begins and ends on those frames, like that you've gone out and planned, hopefully, and shot. And then maybe you'll do pickups where you see it running around or something like that. You might do a 3D there. That's where the 3D can be cheaper, because it's like a running thing, but it won't be a feature.
Yeah.
So and maybe the creature has to have like real expressive things which they can't do in animatronics. So, but then that becomes like a nuke stroke 3D stroke 2D thing. So the options are out there for that.
Yeah. So let's say I'm in college or whatever, and I'm very interested in animation or visual effects. My favorite movies are Lord of the Rings. King Kong is one of my favorite movies. Game of Thrones, which has a lot of visual effects. How do I start? Like, if I'm interested in the visual effects.
If you're going to work we have to decide.
Because you have to decide which.
You have to decide. Also, you have to decide: am I going to be a movie maker, or am I going to be somebody who works within the movie industry? So meaning like, am I going to be an animator, a sculptor, a producer, am I a director? What are these? Am I going to be?
Yeah.
So I think you have to make a decision on that platform, that basis first. I mean, even though you end up doing, let's say, prosthetics, or you're doing animatronics, or doing something like that, but you want to be a director, at least you know where your goal is. It's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Because it also helps when you go, because only on big productions do you have the structure you need to deliver a brilliant product. And with 3D, the big comparison is like, I can go sculpt something in clay, and everybody can look at it and go like, oh my God, that is awesome. And then I can make a mold of it, make it out of rubber, and stick my hand in it and go like, blah, 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 blah. And it'll be a product. It can work straight off the bat like that. 3D doesn't work anywhere near that. If there's a slight problem, everybody will see it and everything fails.
Yeah. So, it's just like one of those shitty movies when someone jumps from a building to another.
Yes.
You can see like, it's actually, as soon as you see, that's a visual effects, the effect is gone.
Yes.
It's like, as soon as the person jumps and lingers too long or too short in the air, then you're like, there's something wrong there. It actually even just pulls you out of, like,
it does.
Pulls you out of the experience.
And it's pity because you sometimes see that in, only because my eye is trained. Like, I saw it in like one of the new Star Wars, where I could actually see that the weight wasn't quite correct on something, and it's only because my eyes trained for that now, because I had to look at motion data all the time. Yeah. And it just threw me out of the movie. It was like, oh dear God, I'm watching something recent, and then then the rest of the brain starts to wake up, and you're out of the moment. You're right. Yeah. But it's only very few people would actually get
to see that.
Yeah.
But also, one thing that's interesting is that, like, I always think of visual effects as a tool to help tell stories, because just because you have great animation in your movie doesn't mean that like your story will be amazing.
There's one or two companies in the UK that only specialize in previz. So the pre-visualization of your entire like Superman. Which one was it? The first Superman, which was the Superman Returns, I suppose. It wasn't. Anyway, and there's such a large amount of money going to be spent on the movie, millions, that for them to spend a couple of million on, or 3 or 4 million on like a decent moving storyboard, if you look at, the payoff, it's like, it's a no-brainer to, and these guys, what they never really, what no one ever really gets is that, yes, like Fox and Fox Studios and Warner Brothers, and they're taking big risks by putting my 300 million down over there for this, and I might lose that, and that does break our bank if we lose that. The thing you don't ever hear is that, and they all fight for box office release, numbers, which sometimes they got movies in their library that are bringing in chugs of money every year that never made box office. You know, like let's say first Blade Runner. First Blade Runner is like was seen as a failure. That thing's still churning money until this day.
Even now, yeah.
To give you an idea, Freddy Krueger, which one was it? First Friday the 13th. They couldn't afford any proper prosthetics or anything. A John Carpenter movie. John Carpenter approached the effects guy and he said, "All right, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a percentage of the royalties of the show if it happens," and so on like that. So, which was brilliant because, and then this is a fairly recent sort of making of I saw of it, and he says to this day, and that was then, to this day he still receives checks in the mail. Sometimes ones that equal the salary, and sometimes not, but there's always an income. So what these big boys don't tell you is that, yes, they made $3 billion off this thing. That is $3 billion of the beginning of the making of the rest of the money that they're going to make off that thing. So, So,
it's like Marvel movies. It's like, let's say, I don't know, let's say Thor, right?
Yeah.
So they make a Thor movie, let's say the budget is 100 million, right? So they make money from the movie, DVD sales, download sales. Yes. Also, then they'll make the action figures. Then they make the T-shirts. Then they make the comic books based on the movie.
Yes.
It's like an extra extended, like a comic book version of the movie or extended version. Then it's like, so you know, like it like there's so many like revenue streams just for like one movie, but there's so many things.
You get McDonald's and the rest who want to also they use that platform to sell their products, so then they pay them for rights for using that as well. So
like a little Thor toy.
Totally, yeah. And or was it Thor burger or something like that? You know, but my main point is that for taking that sort of thinking into account. And to spend, let's say, $3 or $4 million just on a moving storyboard, it's nothing. Because it's going to save the money, and then that is the income.
It's going to come back, yeah.
So, and also, if you've got a moving storyboard, sometimes what happens is you can actually go approach effects houses straight off the bat and say, "This is what we're going to do here. Can you do this?" and so on. And then everybody bids and quotes on it.
Okay. Back to when you're starting again. Like what? I mean, it's actually a whole, like we could never talk about everything VFX animation in like one setting, but like, so I know there is if someone is interested in animation, they could either go to an animation school, which they probably might not learn much.
And there's a huge difference between, and this I know from my own experience is, if you're into Pixar stuff, go to a Pixar type of school. You know, don't mess with VFX, don't mess with anything else. Just go to Pixar type. And there are really good courses for the Pixar type of people. Because there's a huge difference. It's 3D moving in the motion of 2D animation. There's a lot of thought behind all that stuff. There's a whole craft and there's a whole art to it. But those people cannot always do the effects stuff because the effects stuff is a different weight to stuff and the way things move. I mean, the amount of arguments I've had with people's expectations of what's reality and what's not is like I spend all my time looking at reality, looking at movement, looking at weight, looking at how, you know, and most of it gets absorbed and I don't even realize it. So when I convert it into, let's say, an animation or something like that, then it's normally spot on and correct because I've just been recording all this information. I've trained myself. But the moment I have to do a Pixar type character, it's like I have to delete everything and then it's a fresh start. It's like the emotion that this character, you know, I can do a real character giving emotion, but to give one of those ones, there's a very, I know that because even rigging a Pixar type character, finding that rig is quite different. And they got a very standard formula which they'll teach you as well in their things.
Do you know any of these schools that as the online?
Yeah, they're all online, and it's best. Sometimes even if you can save your money, actually, I'm always trying to think of a nice way to say it. People usually inspire people working co by side. So if you can, with a friend, if you know somebody else is also going to study this stuff, save your money and go do this online stuff together. You know, if you can, and even form your own little school or something like that, and then try to push on for that way, because you're going to get people that are actually in the industry, working in the industry, and they're going to be judging and looking at your stuff and telling you what works, what doesn't work. I'm going to give you now the opposite. Sometimes you have people that are just interested in being in the industry, so they go, okay, where is the lack of expertise? And they'll go like, okay, well, water simulation. So then you would go and you do online research, and there are some what products do good water simulation. It'll be like Houdini and I call it Real Slow, but yeah, Real Flow. And then you would like to learn from the masters of how to, so you would use, I wonder if they're still around, Nolan School was one of them. And what's happened is...
Lynda.com is pretty basic. There's I know you can learn like Cinema 4D, 3D, Maya, Nuke, Houdini, ZBrush. There's like... And also, Lynda.com is pretty like cheap. Like it's like $500 a month versus 60,000 at the animation school.
But don't do it as a hobby. Just make it your study. You know what I mean? Like take it as serious, because if you make it like your hobby and you get a job in it, you'll sort of bring that through with it, and it's not what you want to be serious about what you do. You know, I mean, the first time I arrived on set and I saw what was happening, I was blown away. I was like horrified, actually. The first time I arrived on set, it was all green screen, and they had a pterodactyl guy in a pterodactyl suit, really bad suit, slung up from the center of the ceiling, and they had somebody like pushing him along like this, pushes him along, and they got a camera trying to catch like a good angle from him. Like, I was like, I can see, who made that decision? You know, and it's like, but I stood there like all as like these people are taking this seriously. How does anybody take it seriously? I mean, if I had to be like a lawyer, or a doctor, or something like that, I'd be going, well, these guys are like kids, you know. But that's what it takes.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Sorry, I went off the. Yes.
No, and then what are the what are the most like epic visual effects scenes, or whether it's prosthetics or like scenes where you like you admire the craft, and it was like it was like, what the fuck, that is so cool, and you just went online and just Googled and see how they actually
did it. Was no Google then.
It wasn't. Fuck. Okay, yeah.
But what happened was this will actually answer the next question, which is, if you want to study, let's say prosthetics or animatronics or anything like that, the best one I've seen now is, which will give you good introduction, is introduction, not even introduction, just a good feeling of what's happening, is Stan Winston School. Stan Winston School for it's online. It's actually not really that expensive, and you got like really these guys as gurus that have been doing this for years and stuff like that. They even talk about like Jurassic Park, the latest one, and everything like that, and all the technology that they've been using, and then they expose you and they take you through the simplest, like how to make a foam puppet, all the way through to the thing. So I must say, I saw the movie The Thing, which was also John Carpenter. I remember I watched it just before I went to school, because I couldn't watch it that evening because I thought, okay, that's going to be too terrifying. So I watched it in the morning before I go to school. My God. And it was both that sort of terrifying movement in your heart and soul, as well as the awe of how did they do that? Because, you know, I already had it in my head as in like that somebody did that, but so that was a combination of brilliant people. That was Stan Winston, that was Robert Teen, and there was, if I'm not mistaken, was it Dick Smith stuff in there somewhere. But there were the big 3D boys, you know, big, let's say rubber boys.
Prosthetic guys.
There was like they're called a rubber revolution. It was like all foam latex, all rubber stuff and everything like that. And those guys were rock stars, you know. Somehow, by watching all these movies and watching this stuff, I picked up like the status that these guys have achieved, the recognition they've achieved, and everything like that is just way up there. And it's like, just to be like slightly a part of that, even like a groupie or something like that, it's just amazing. I want to be a part of that. That's what pulled me in. So Stan Winston was a big one. Dick Smith, which did he sort of started off a lot of the smaller guys, and Dick Smith did Exorcist and Amadeus, and he worked out a lot of how to work with prosthetics and makeup and stuff. Rick Baker also came off from the whole bunch over there, and he's gonna hate me because I always get his name wrong. It's Robert Teen, and then I'll get his name just now. He looks like Iron Man, and I always get it wrong. But these so there was The Thing. There was even Amadeus. When I saw that, it wasn't my sort of movie, but I could see the guy aging throughout the whole movie, and I was like, how the hell is this happening? You know, it's flawless makeup on this dude the whole way through, like and then eventually I found out, it's because Dick Smith did it, and then he actually worked out how to do it like a 5 or 6 piece mold, so you didn't have to, he applied one prosthetic at a time over another, which took the time up, but flawless sort of. You can't touch that sort of work. It just looks so brilliant on screen, on camera, the whole way. Yeah.
Okay, and then also, I think also like. Maybe something else that people need to learn is to just start, like, go on YouTube if you're interested in effects. Like, I feel like it's so accessible nowadays with the Google and the YouTubes. Like, Google how to make fake blood, how to make a wound, how to, like, you can even make, like, scar wax with, like, Vaseline and flour. Like, there's always these makeup girls on YouTube that say, like, if you want to make scar wax, you want to make, like, scab blood.
You don't have to have... Kane VFX did Dustle Dawn 1, 2, 3, as far as I know, they did all of them. And there was one that was shot in Cape Town where they had a full body prosthetic of one of the creatures, this like old bag lady thing with the teeth and the blah blah blah, and her whole body apparently was it was a gel that was made, so it had a very short shelf life, but it was enough for the movie. Short shelf life meaning like you apply it onto the face once, for instance, and you take it off, it's not usable again, that's fine. But the bodysuit itself was amazing. They actually had a wetsuit, and in the wetsuit they had a part of it with a prosthetic. So when the guy moved around in the wetsuit like this, everything moved beautifully with him.
Okay.
And that is like a cheap ass effect as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, working on some of these high budgets, we found out that the speciality in working in some of these high budgets is not just because now you're a master and you've got the quality down and stuff. What it is that you got 300 shots in this movie. Can you deliver? That's actually what makes you professional. It's like, yes, I can deliver that. And
because you're not just doing one scene.
Yes,
it's like a couple
you're
of
not
scenes.
doing just one little tiny thing. You're delivering 300 of this thing. So the amount of techniques we actually learned on high budget movies, which were like the cheapest ass techniques I've ever seen in my life, they're like lifesavers. For instance, the one was Beyond Borders with Angelina Jolie. We worked with a team, Neil Cobalt team, and they were famous for making dead bodies and so on. And we didn't see an oven around, because normally you'd have to have an oven to bake the prosthetics out that you're going to use for the next day and so on like that. So then Duncan, the guy that he used to run the firm, on the firm he had an 8-part mix, not a 3-part mix. He had 8-part mix that said Return of the Jedi. So which means that they had products left over from Return of the Jedi. Because if you don't mix those catalysts together and those products, they just stay in that raw form forever. Then he was like one of 4 people that actually knew how to mix this stuff from scratch.
Yeah.
And that was part of the course. But the main thing is, then we look at, for us, we just bought like a whole oven to cook, like I say, a full body prosthetic. And the oven cost about 30-40 grand, and it was like specially made, and it had 3 phases, and it had like all sorts of briquettes and bricks, and it like had a stabilizer, just to make sure that there's a perfection to the heat and everything's all at the same time.
Yeah.
So then we asked this guy, like, how does he do it? No, he takes one of the crates, pokes holes in the side, puts a grid in the top, like it puts the mold in there. He shoves one of those open element ovens, the heaters, puts 2 of them in there. That's it. That's like $10. So, and that's a high budget movie, you know what I mean? And it's like these guys are, so there's a misconception of like money, time, and what to achieve. I think people, when you realize you've got 300 shots or something, or 400 shots, or 1,000 shots or something, that's where the power lies. Is can you manage that amount of hours? Shots. Yeah. Can you deliver?
Shit. But I guess then, people just need to try things out and stop being like, oh no, I don't know how to do that. I don't know, like the most obvious things, like you see, there's not a lot of like bloody movies or bloody scenes, and especially in SA. I'm sure there are scenes where there's blood, but like it's not like super hardcore. Some people avoid it because they feel like, oh no, I'm not gonna do it because it's gonna like we don't have time. Or there's this association that it's like it's unreachable. It's like, oh no, we're gonna have to call a special, like a super special guy who's gonna charge us like a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if only they knew, or if they did some research, they could actually do some pretty cool stuff.
Exactly.
Because it also in like movies and TV, it's like a visual thing, you know, and also increasing your visuals enhances your story. You know? So you could have amazing like visual effects, but like if your story sucks, it sucks.
Yes.
You know,
quite a few of those.
But if your story and your visual effects like gels well, and like your effects, whether it's a movie about an exorcism and you see someone levitating, going all over the place, it like makes it even more like
that's it. And you see
better. It's a better like
and if you're able
experience.
If you're able to make those calls from a director's point of view with that sort of backup knowledge, it puts you in a very powerful position because you can go, I want my actor to be terrified. So you deprive your actor from actually seeing the creature. For instance, let's say it's a creature in the cupboard that's going to just come out and scare them. So what you do is you actually do a practical effect, you know, and you go like, okay, I just want the jaw to go and this thing to move like that, but you know the design itself is quite unique. So we somehow immediately register with actors and actresses. There's so much that happens in the back of our brain with reading people's performances. And so that's why the old technique of like, I don't show them the creature, and then you show them the creature and they get their real reaction. You're feeling it too, because you're going, oh my God, that person's actually feeling that. You recognize, we have like this, almost said tribal, we have this like built-in recognition system of other people's expressions and so on like that. It's very complex. I mean, and that's what I've learned from the data stuff. So as if a director knows that, then he can make a call, because he can go like, you know what, I know this is the crux of the whole movie. This is where the pinnacle point, and that reaction that person gives is going to be the sell. Yeah. Then, you know, you make a call. But then, like you say, with people that are trying to do things, they have to decide, like I said, let's always decide, are you making stuff? Do you want to contribute towards the worldwide community of entertainment? Or, you know, meaning like I have a service that I offer. A service meaning I animate, or I do color, or I do this. Or are you going to be a director who does horror, sci-fi, or some sort of genre like that, and go, this is what I want to do, this is what I concentrate on. And then every time you watch one of those movies, because you will have a whole bunch of people that you admire, you will go like, what was the decision behind that? What was that? Was that 3D? Was that this? Was it that? Yeah. It's immediately started in your brain breaking down each shot. Yeah.
And I used to watch a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like, what is it? DVD commentary. Yeah. Like, I was like, because I always like wanted to know like how they did stuff. Yeah. Like,
the worst was when they went to the 3D stuff. Because then it becomes like, you know, it's like, going to data, this, that, next thing, programmer over here, and guy speaking over there. And you have an animator going like crawling out from the screen. Like,
But it was also like really interesting just to like see how things are done. You know, that's how I learned most of my stuff. Like, there was a show called Heroes. They had a documentary called, I don't know if it's called Behind the World of Heroes or something, and they would just show how they did the different visual effects. And it was nice to like watch that, and you know, obviously it would be nice if it was more like you could try this at home if you wanted to do the same thing, but it was always all surface stuff like, you know, that's how we did this. But you know,
but there's a whole other thing to that. Where I know some people that have worked at work at weta, work at the island stuff, and there's one thing that a lot of, so those little inserts like you're saying there, those are production facilities talking to other production facilities, talking to other people that can afford their services, talking to, and all they're trying to do is sell the technology of what they do. They don't. Very few people sell the people that actually produce the work, because for some reason the button press and thing happens, whatever. Not realizing it's the entire institution that actually makes something work in the end. So you get those guys on those. That's why they won't give you like, oh, if you want to try this at home, this is what it is. They don't make it easy, because that's not what the sell point of those things are. That's why you sort of have to just try it on your own. Like, very few people that I've met who got qualified from, let's say, some of these schools, they didn't even know what an alpha channel was. So green screen creates the alpha channel, creates the transparency, so you can actually insert whatever it is, skies or whatever, like a basic thing at some of the schools they didn't even teach.
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't know that, just that basic sort of thing, then how do you make a call? And it's all financially dependent, all these calls. So it's like you can make a movie that, I mean, if you look at all the successful directors, like Spielberg, he does, he storyboards like his entire movie. And he used to even storyboard a lot of the complex stuff himself. And if anybody changed one of his storyboards, he freaked out completely because he'd already calculated money behind that. This will cost that much, this will be that, you know, and with the experience giving leeway to the costings and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Cameron, I mean, the guy's like, I mean, he's also, he could do his own storyboards if he needed to. He got other people to do it. What's his name? King Kong boy.
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
King Kong boy. He's got some people that he just reuses over and over for storyboards and stuff like that. And the storyboards are there for to calculate what intensity is going to go in there, and also to give whatever that's in their imagination a bit of life, so that it becomes some extra communication across like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But mainly it was monetary as well. Like that's how much effect's going to cost. So, which is a nice thing. It sort of goes like, everything costs a bit of money, which means there's value behind everything, and I need to make get the most value out of this product.
Yeah.
So if you look at Aliens, which was Cameron product, that was considered a really low budget movie, I think, for $18 million. $18 million, and he got that out of it. That's what fucking.
It's amazing, dude.
Them.
I still watch it even to this day.
Yeah.
Aliens is like.
And they're still making money off that shit today, and they spent $18 million on it, and he's happy anyway because he's like going on to make his own stuff and do his own thing.
Do you think it's important to keep up with the latest trends or softwares or updates and stuff, you know?
No.
Right.
No. I think what is important is that the only reason I would go look at trends is to sort of see where people's interests are, you know, as a storyteller. To sort of go like, if I've got a choice between making, let's say, an alien epic or some alien stuck in the backyard, what would people right now like? And then so you can get a feel for your public that way. So that I would use the media for. But latest software, latest this, latest that. I mean, they're very standard, the ones that are in place already, so which is Maya, which is Houdini. Houdini is a very big effects program, but all over the world, very few people. Hasn't got a big user base, but it's growing and it's brilliant. But Maya's just like, it can get adapted into any scenario.
Yeah.
Cinema 4D is coming up quite with a lot of small houses. Blender, everybody uses Blender, I'm sure, hopefully. But not to do final shots, but everybody uses Blender for some stuff and just exploration and so on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype that people shouldn't listen to. I find a lot of the hype, like if you go to ZBrush, for instance, ZBrush is a sculpting program. It's very good. There are other ones like it, but ZBrush sort of always it sort of wins above the rest. And if you look at the community of ZBrush right now, it's sort of like, I wouldn't want to do something and post it up. You know, it's not because, it's because the criticism I get is not exactly what I'm looking for. The criticism I'm looking for, if you get the wrong criticism for your product, it could kill your whole passion. It could kill what you want to actually achieve, and it could create the obstacles that a lot of people are feeling. So, like, this is the thing that, like, people that are obsessed with, let's say, animation on the Pixar stuff, and then they do this animation, and let's say it looks pretty good, all right? But you have somebody with a really experienced eyes that looks at it, and they go like, "No, you got to tweak this," and then they say they're not even nice about it, like, you know. It could kill you.
Because one of the things about animation, it takes a lot of fucking time.
Yes, and people don't realize.
You probably spend like 2 weeks or a month and something, and someone will just like.
Yes, because in some of the products, some of the shots they'll give you like 2 weeks. But if it goes over the 2 weeks and so on, like it, and they see it's valid and you've gone on the journey with everybody, then they'll you'll get your time on it. But yes, that. The amount you have to sink yourself into a shot, for instance, like you got to film yourself, get the action on, and then you got to discuss it with some sort of director, another director, and then do your shot, and then you start animating it, and it's a huge process. There's nothing about it that's jokey or fun. The romanticism that people feel when they watch this stuff is like,
you don't know how much work that goes into this.
why? Yeah. No, it's like a whole lot of work. It's like sometimes you're going like, do you want a life, or do you want to do this sort of thing?
I mean, I noticed you, because obviously we work together. I realized you guys, the animators, are always grinding, dude. You grinding. Like,
yes. And
a lot of late nights, a lot of like...
and even in the world of prosthetics, this is the same sort of thing. You're grinding away because you're fighting time with chemicals and how long stuff takes to harden and dry, and so the logistics of life are you fighting that. And then with 3D, there's a logistic you're fighting all the time, which is time.
I've noticed, like, in other countries where, like, they make an animation thing, it's like there's a person who deals with hair. Yeah. There's a person who deals with, like, fire, water. Here in SA, like, most of the 3D guys, most of the time, the companies here are not that huge.
Yes.
So you're like an all-rounder. You're like model, rig, fucking texture, light. It's. I mean, I would imagine there is an advantage to that. Like, also, like,
the advantage is that because you get an overall point of view on everything, it puts you in a position to understand the process, the full-blown process a whole lot more, which I also find a lot of people don't understand. So it's like, if you've just been doing animation, you've only been exposed to moving things within the 3D product. You haven't been exposed to effects, how fluids move, how fluids get calculated, rendering, this and the next thing. It's like, you're like a diva. You're like, anything I do with animate, make the thing move nicely.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then you have to do, anyway. So a lot of the guys that have gone overseas from here actually have done quite well for themselves, either because they do choose a specific line of work, like I animate, or so a lot of them become supervisors eventually because they just know the global, how the whole thing works.
Yeah.
And also because they don't give a shit, they just work. You got to slog away until you get your product out, which is always terrifying with 3D, because at least with something that's tactile like a sculpture, you can go like, hey, this sculpture is going to look like this eventually, because now I've got to make molds and stuff like that, and they're really sort of sold and they're happy about that, and there's like a sold amount of confidence, like quite quickly. They can see a form and a shape. But then with 3D, it's like, this is your 2D stroke 3D reality. It's a conversation.
But then also, what's a typical day like for you? Like, from you get a brief. Hey, we need you to create, I don't know, whatever it is. Like, what is the process like from beginning to end? Like, I don't know, maybe from the most basic job that you've ever done.
Okay, the most basic job I ever did was I'll change the product a bit. Let's say it's an apple, not an apple, sorry, it sounds like an apple product. Not a pear, because the pear copies the apple. Peach is good. No, peach was the product. That's not good. Anyway, I had to make a little peach for television. It was a television ad. So and they said, I want this peach to squash and stretch while there's a voiceover on it.
So is it animating? Does it have legs in the face?
No, not even. But that's exactly what happens. You ask those questions. You go, does it have a face? Does it have hair? Does it have anything? Does this? And you hope that they understand what they're trying to get done, and they'll give it. So sometimes they'll have a drawing for you. They'll supply you with the drawing, and they'll say like, okay, here's the drawing, which helps a whole lot, because it means they sold on it, you sold on it, and any other third party involved is like, okay, this
is what we're doing.
This is what we're doing. And then you go like, okay, do we see it from any other direction? Other than this 2D direction over here. So which means if I sculpt it, I'm going to put all my emphasis on this one side over here. Or do I have to make sure 360 is good? So it's like, no, to make sure 360 is good, because you might want a hop or something like that. Okay. So you go through, you basically have to build the finished product in your head. That's if you're taking care of the entire quotation and so on. And that's why it's always a bit complicated when people get involved that actually don't really grasp 3D really well, and you get given like we did this one ad once with this one juice, and the producer like didn't quite work out that it was 3 separate ads with 3 separate things that have to happen to fruit, and she booked it over one weekend with like 2 animators, and we're like, you realize there's like 3 ads, there's like about 6 shots in each ad, and then we have to produce this, and the die is cast. You have to make it happen. You have to like, so then the whole team stays, and we're all there over the whole weekend to facilitate this mistake.
Jeez.
Yeah, and then pulled it off. I don't know how, but it happened. And the problem with those is that people don't remember people remember a bad job. They don't remember always like the favors that you do and the things that you do. They sort of expect that because there's a whole farce about like, it's your passion. Don't you want to do it? Don't you want it to become a lifestyle? It's like, I'm still human.
You worked the whole weekend. You didn't even have a life making that.
Yes. So it's like, and there's no, so yeah, so you're right. The right questions are, what does it do? What does it move? What does it look like? Build this image in your head. Get it as close to, ask as many questions as you possibly can. And then that's where the experience comes in. It's like the next person. So you go like, flip, I forgot to ask what lighting to put in, how does the render look? Does the render look just like the image over here? Is it like a 2D look that they're after, which is also complicated? Or is it a photoreal look? And if it's a photoreal look, then they have to still supply you with a peach or a photoreal one. Say, there's your lighting that you wanted to try to achieve.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more complex because if you think about it, you're doing the job of a lighting, you're doing a job of prosthetics, you're doing a job of directing, you're doing a job of, because the product, the picture you show in the end, people are just looking at the final product.
They don't know how much,
that every pore had to be sculpted, that every little thing, that there's mechanics behind the 3D object, making it move, and those mechanics had to be designed for specific thing.
Jeez. And then how long, I don't know, I was talking to Nero, like how, like let's say one of those shows also like on Cartoon Network that like, I don't know, let's say Ben 10. I mean, it's still 2D, but like, let's say a 3D one. What's a 3D?
Trolls. Box trolls? No, trolls.
Let's say a 22-minute 3D animation show. How long does that take to make?
We just did some of that. The technique that was used at the company that I was at last was a very good technique. It took ages for it to the technique was motion cap. Take actors and actresses that are used to stage work. Get them to act out all the characters on the script, and because the director was already accustomed to stage directing and getting the stuff ready, because if you look at a sitcom, it's usually filmed pretty much from one side and so on, and so it was pretty much the same theory behind doing like the series with these characters in, because it's pretty much lock off set here, there, like, and so it worked out well because he's all about performance and he's all about like storytelling. That was all captured into almost the cloud of data of anyway, it was captured and then put onto the rigs or let's say the temporary animation rigs, which are a lot lighter to work with because the data is heavy now, and you have to clean that data and you have to make sure that there has to be like a whole edit in between before even like final characters get their like animation. You need to start locking off. So you have like a lot of T-pose characters like just floating around, or you have some very bad like whoopee stuff, But what happens is you're trying to just edit out a little story in 3D using your basic data, and then you start refining, and then you start handing off your shots. And then your shots come back and they're like refined, and if there's any tweaks that need to be made. This process worked, I think, extremely well. Their faces were still, they were intended to be motion captured, but they became hand animated, which worked out perfectly fine. So we were looking at 2 weeks per episode in the end, and there were 24 episodes.
How long was an episode?
28, 29 minutes.
Okay. And how many people would work on an episode for that 2 weeks?
That's almost like the full crew of like 30 people, 40 people, maybe even more than that. Yeah.
Jeez, 2 weeks. So a 28, 22-minute episode would have 30 people working on it for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Per episode.
Per episode.
Jesus.
So if you think about it, But see, this is where the money thing comes in. It's like you go, okay, not in that case, but in Star Trek, per episode, it used to be, per episode of Star Trek was $1 million, no less. So that's like $1 million every 2 weeks as well for them. And eventually became more and more and more like that. But what happens is, once you put together, it's like 24 episodes, it's $24 million. You put it out to syndicate, you put it out like to the world, dude, the amount of money you make back is more than you do in feature movies. Way more, because it's going to get aired and rerun and rerun and rerun.
Licensed,
everything gets, everything gets, you get licensed, you get like your zones, you get your areas, you blah, blah, blah. And even I think, what's his name? George Lucas said, the money's in television, it's not really in film. And he always said, the reason mainly being is that I have 24 episodes, 24 products. You know, it's really hard and quick and fast to make these things, and it's sometimes a bit tacky, but, you know, it's just, the more you make, the more you get.
Yeah.
So
jeez, but that's like a lot, man. Like,
it is a lot.
30 people for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's like I don't think anybody did actually crunch the numbers for per episode, because you know how much it really costs per episode if you had to. Because the only reason you put on 30 people is because that you're trying to get it done quicker. And people don't always realize getting something done quicker isn't cheaper. It just means because you still, there's logistics.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't animate faster because somebody tells me to animate faster. Animate faster, yes. It's like
stuff needs to still look good.
Pay me more and I'll make some magic happen. Sure. No, it doesn't happen.
And then on Hollywood movies, like, have you seen Sausage Party?
Star?
Sausage
Sausage Party, yes.
How long would you think making a movie like that would take?
That's an interesting question, because that would depend on the vision. If the vision is clear and good, with comedians it never is. With comedians, vision changes every day. It would be that's a nightmare project as far as I'm concerned. That one, because it's a nightmare project if you're working on it, because now you're getting changes all the time from the directors, and to the point of where you don't even care about if it's for the benefit of the movie. You're going like, I need sleep, you know, and they're pushing. Apparently, it was like that sort of a production, and the comedians are they're doing what they do well, which is funniness and try and make things, improve things. So as soon as they see the first rushes of something, and they're like, oh, this will make it better. And then the producers are like, okay, yes, and they go tell the animators like, no. You know, and it's it's not a very complex render that they use. It's not a very complex anything, you know. But it's the sheer amount of shots that make that movie what it is.
Yeah.
And one change can have this ripple effect that goes right through like that. So it's a nightmare project, but because they had good comedians on it and whatever like that, you know it's going to be a good product, though.
Yeah.
You know you're going to make money off that stuff.
Yeah. Damn. Well, I think that's we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you for being on this podcast, man. Cool. We've been talking for like an hour, dude. Okay, just a key wrapping up point. So if you want to get into animation or prosthetics or 2D animation or 3D animation, you like Pixar movies, you want to do something for Nickelodeon or whatever, like so the best thing is just to like go on the internet.
Yes.
Google
it. Like if you have a company that you're interested in, like Pixar or like let's say Frame Store or Movie Picture Company, which is MPC, have a look at what their recruitment stuff says. You know, like you'll hear through forums and stuff, they accept people quite easily from this sort of education or that sort of introduction, or, you know, and then there's a lot of confusion with like what you're going to go to that. Actually, we should do that on another whole session one day with about how to actually go to the interviews and stuff, and like what you're selling and what you're not selling.
Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, just do research, try the free software, and just like go on YouTube. There's shitloads of tutorials. I know when I was doing 3D, learning how to do 3D on 3ds Max, I would go on 3D Total, CG Cookie. There were tutorials for days. Lynda.com. Plus Lynda.com actually has a lot. Yeah. You know, like Lynda.com is a very good site to just learn. It costs like $500 like a month. I mean, obviously, if you have internet, you can just watch as many videos, and they go from the basics, just from running a simple software, like opening it, importing something, you know, I love that they go like step by step. You know, it's not like, oh, this is a whatever, and you're like, what the fuck is this? They literally teach you from scratch. And it's actually cheaper than going to any other film school. Because it's not that we hate film schools, but like the value that you get and what you spend is like drastically just starting and doing it. It does take a lot of time,